are, like I had mentioned before, they're just disillusioned with what commercial radio is bringing them.
Yeah.
Some people do it so, believe it or not, they may not even have a music collection or a record collection to play through it. They may do it just for convenience. If they have something they like on the internet, they may just stream it off their computer into this transmitter so they can listen around about the house or the garage or, you know, on their nearby property so they can enjoy it wirelessly.
Yeah, it's just it's an alternate wireless technology that sort of sub rosa. It's like it's always been around in our country, but I certainly haven't thought about playing with it.
And here's my question, though. You know, you say, you know, a lot of the applications you're sort of talking about here are people maybe playing it through their radios in their own house. Is it really a broadcast technology from the sense of like that you could expect to have an audience? How far could you maybe expect a truly legal, fully within FCC spec Part 15 AM signal to go?
Well, there are some variables to go along with that, and of course, one of the biggest variables is the ground, as far as ground conductivity and the grounding system that you use for the actual transmitter. I'm here in the Northeast, and if you were to look, the FCC actually has a map of what predicted ground conductivity is. Huh. And when we did our transmitter challenge, where we did the transmitter testing, our ground conductivity is the pits up here in Connecticut. And on a car radio with the transmitter that tested out the best, with no modulation, which means no audio, we received the signal on a car radio just about at a mile.
Bill DeFelice of HobbyBroadcaster.net. What are you saying, that the ground, the literal dirt of Connecticut, is bad for grounding your radio? Is that what I'm understanding?
As far as from a transmission perspective, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the signal, right? It actually, AM signal, especially in the daytime, if I'm not incorrect, transmits along the ground. At night, it tends to bounce off the ionosphere. That's why they go so far. And so from region to region, I used to live in Illinois.
We just have a homonym problem right now where we're talking about the dirt and grounding an electronic
But it's the same thing. When I lived in Illinois, central Illinois, exceptionally good ground conductivity. If you look at that same FCC map. Because it used to be it's swamps that were drained. Go ahead, Bill.
And what people can do to kind of overcome or at least try to augment making themselves have a better ground is they place what they call radials in the ground, which are copper wires normally attached to a ground rod out from their transmitter, obviously as long as they can. Most people who are involved in the hobby are usually limited by the available land. But the ground radials help their signal get out in lieu of the dirt not having the ground conductivity we would hope we'd have.
Well, so let's go back to sort of a more typical case. Somebody who isn't super technical enough to put these things together, kind of understands the basic theory, buys a talking house or even buys a Rangemaster, one of the high-end AM Part 15 transmitters. They can expect at best a mile, right? And in many cases, probably a little less than that, maybe a few blocks, a quarter mile, half mile. Is that about correct?
Pretty much so, although I've heard cases of a compliant Part 15 installation getting out upwards of 2 miles or more